It's Friday, September 23rd, and this is now on HNN. Local economists predict the U.S. will enter a recession, but Hawaii may escape severe economic impact.
We're really just talking about a slowdown. Really kind of a pause for Hawaii.
Russia takes steps to annex parts of Ukraine. I'm Deborah Alfarone at the White House with how the Biden administration is responding.
We can expect President Putin will claim any Ukrainian effort to liberate this land as an attack on so-called Russian territory.
Hurricane Fiona, now a Category 4 storm, roars by Bermuda en route to Canada. These stories, plus Grammy-nominated Nicole Scherzinger heads back to Oahu.
First of all, we say West Side is best side.
The special life-changing surprise she has for her grandparents, coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for watching. This is Now. We have got a lot of news to get to today.
That's right. An Oahu man has been indicted for allegedly assaulting an elderly man. It's a case we've been following for a while here at Hawaii News Now. This is new video just into our newsroom today of Daniel Reed Aikau after he bailed out at the sheriff's booking station on Keawe Street. Aikau was initially arrested for second-degree assault in July, but he was released without charges days later. At the time, the city prosecutor's office said it worked closely with HPD on the matter and decided there wasn't enough evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, now officials have once again decided to prosecute Aikau. He was indicted this week on a second-degree assault charge, and here's the surveillance footage of the incident in question. It's from a home in Laie Point, and it shows the interaction between the victim and Aikau. According to the video, the incident happened at around 8 a.m. on July 19th. The video shows a dark car apparently making a sudden U-turn in front of a white truck on a narrow road, causing the truck to make an abrupt stop, and moments later, there was a verbal exchange. The dark car then pulled over to the side of the road, and the suspect can be seen getting out of his car, immediately walking over to the white truck. Within seconds, the video shows the 70-year-old man falling to the ground as the suspect appears to punch him repeatedly.
In our view, there's no doubt about what happened. Some of it, only a small portion of it, is on video. What most people don't know is that this incident started on the highway about a mile or mile and a half away as a traffic matter, where my client made a U-turn in front of the elder gentleman, who then became outraged and followed him for a mile. And then what you see in the video is just the tail end, where my client got to a dead end. He turned around. He got out of his car to approach the vehicle. "Why are you following me?" The guy took a swing at him, which is depicted, and then my client hit him repeatedly. My client is deeply embarrassed and very upset about an overreaction. He certainly takes responsibility for overreacting, but there are more facts in context. The older gentleman also swore at him, although there's no video, but we can demonstrate that. So, we're sorry about this incident. We want to do what's right to repair it. In the aftermath, my client and his family members received death threats from the older gentleman's family and friends. It was a total overreaction to a situation which was regrettable and which we certainly are sorry about and will take responsibility for.
We're going to have more on this still developing story coming up on later editions of HNN.
More breaking news. The Dow closes down 483 points or 1.6%, marking its lowest level since November of 2020. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq Composite were down 1.7% and 1.8% respectively. So local economists in a new study from the University of Hawaii predict the U.S. will slip into a recession in the coming months, but they say there's a glimmer of hope for the state. Our Dykes talked to UHERO's executive director about this morning on Sunrise.
You're forecasting a U.S. recession next year that can hurt us, and this is interesting, even if our local economy doesn't get a recession.
Well, the reason that we think our local economy won't get a recession is because we're out of sync with the rest of the world and with the U.S. in particular, because we're still in the recovery mode. And particularly, we're still in recovery mode for international visitors. And so that has the potential to sort of offset weakening of the U.S. market as the international market sort of gets a little bit closer to normal.
Right. But you also point out, and this is also interesting, that there are people who, even in an expanding economy, can get into trouble. Because although unemployment is low, you point out that the number of stable, salaried jobs is still below pre-pandemic levels.
Sure, and to some extent that would be expected because our population has declined, our labor force has declined some, so we don't really expect that to get back to full pre-pandemic levels. And yet, as you deal with all these repercussions of high inflation, you have higher interest rates that will affect revolving debt, and of course high inflation itself is hurting people across the board. And then you have less opportunities in the labor market, and say someone who does lose a job has a much harder time finding a job.
There's the Japan factor. That's what we were joking about earlier, because one of the things you say in the report is you're looking forward to getting a little bit of help from resurgent Japanese tourism. And now the yen is so weak compared to the dollar that we may have priced them out of the market for a little while.
Well, so we talk about that some in the report, how we expect Japanese numbers to go up, reaching about 50% of pre-pandemic levels by the early next year. And that's a slight downgrade from our last forecast. We also discussed the fact that the yen is off 20%, and everything that is part of a visitor vacation in Hawaii is way more expensive than it was a couple of years ago. But that bounce in the number of people, even if spending is constrained, will be enough to offset the decline in visitors that we're anticipating from the U.S. And sort of keep overall visitor spending relatively stable in 2023, even as we deal with the repercussions of a modest recession in the U.S.
It's just a dismal time. It'll get better, but
it's right now our outlook is that we're really just talking about a slowdown. Yeah. Really kind of a pause for Hawaii. That's our story. We're going to stick to it. And but as you know, things change very rapidly. And we also mentioned in the report that the risks are to the downside. So it's possible that inflation stays elevated. It's more persistent than anybody expected. And that means the Fed goes higher and longer. And that then suggests a deeper downturn nationally and more repercussions on Hawaii.
Okay, so now you know what seems likely and also what to watch for that could mess all this up.
Russia is trying to solidify the territory it's captured in Ukraine, but the U.S. is pushing back, saying attempts to annex any parts of Ukraine are illegal and a sham. Deborah Alfarone has more.
Voting is underway in Russian-controlled areas of Ukraine on a referendum to join Russia. The separatist leader in Donetsk cast his vote in front of cameras. We are returning home, he says. We are returning to mighty Russia. The referendums are illegal under international law, and the U.S. has called them a sham, saying the outcome of the vote to annex Ukrainian land is predetermined.
When that's complete, we can expect President Putin will claim any Ukrainian effort to liberate this land as an attack on so-called Russian territory.
Russian President Vladimir Putin vowed this week to use all weapons systems available if his territory is attacked.
The Biden administration has warned Russia publicly and privately against the use of nuclear weapons as Putin struggles to turn the tide in the war in Ukraine.
The Kremlin announced this week it is mobilizing up to 300,000 new soldiers.
What's not clear is whether or not it could significantly address the command and control, the logistics, the sustainment, and importantly, the morale issues that we've seen Russian forces in Ukraine experience.
The news was met with anti-war demonstrations in Russia. Police arrested more than 1,000 protesters. Thousands more decided to flee the country rather than be called up.
Not really lots of Russian people want to to fight and want to be mobilized and want to go to the army.
Moscow denies there is a large-scale exodus, but there are traffic jams at border checkpoints. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
Scientists are still trying to understand the impacts following that underwater volcano eruption in Tonga back in January. According to a study published in the Journal of Science, the volcano shot millions of tons of water vapor high up into the sky, raising the amount of water in the stratosphere by about 5%. Scientists are looking into the possible impacts of that, but it is theorized that it may lead to a warming of the Earth's surface in the coming years. Researchers stress this was an eruption unlike any ever seen before. Turning to severe weather now, Hurricane Fiona continues to track north after pounding Bermuda. That's where we find NBC's Morgan Chesky.
Yeah, guys, it is incredible the difference just a few hours makes. We're here in St. George's, Bermuda. Blue sky sunshine, about the opposite of what we witnessed just a few hours ago when we had a side-swiping blow by Hurricane Fiona as it churned its way up through the Atlantic and really, I think, surprised some people here in Bermuda as to how powerful it could be, despite it being more than 100 miles off the coast of this island. We lost power at some point overnight due to incredibly powerful winds that also brought drenching rains. And when we made our way down to the waterfront early this morning, we saw multiple power poles knocked over, some light structural debris, but nothing significant. And that is what is bringing a big sigh of relief to a lot of people here on the island of Bermuda. They know exactly how powerful these storms can be. We do know that government officials are taking a tour of the island right now to do a damage assessment. We're waiting to hear back from them, but having walked through this community somewhat this morning, a lot of people very thankful that this hurricane stuck to its path and did not deviate closer to the island. Such a powerful storm, Category 4 at one point, downgraded to a Category 3 right as it glanced off of Bermuda. And as it stands right now, there were thousands without power, but we do know crews are working as quickly as possible to get the lights back on for everyone on this island nation. We'll send it back to you.
All right, let's check out our weather. Take a live look outside. Everybody's wondering about the weekend, and it's gonna be a hot one with a lack of trade winds. I am so sorry. Bring back Mother Nature's AC, please, Guy Hoggy, please.
Remember, stronger winds indicated by yellow streamlines. We just don't see those yellow streamlines very much. All the way, at least through the weekend, probably beyond that. In fact, the 7-day forecast calls for light and variable winds all the way through Tuesday, with a light trade wind breeze coming back on Wednesday. The overall weather pattern looks like this. Fairly dry in the morning. We do have some high clouds this morning, but fairly dry. And then in the afternoon hours, because of the light winds and the high humidity levels, clouds will build up around the mountains and around interior spots. And that cloud buildup will likely spawn a few spotty showers, maybe some heavy downpours, but widespread rain not expected. And those downpours will be brief, but they might be heavy enough to trigger some minor flooding. That's what happened yesterday on Leeward, Oahu, and could happen for some parts of the state. Again, high temperatures running into the upper 80s, but it's going to feel like the mid-90s because of the elevated humidity levels.
An effort to expand a marine national monument about 1,000 miles south of Hawaii is getting some pushback. Now, a fisheries council created by Congress says expanded environmental protection will lead to fewer jobs. Ben Gutierrez has more.
A Hawaii-based coalition wants President Biden to expand the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument. Hawaii's governor supports the move, but the smaller Pacific islands that depend on the fisheries nearby don't want that to happen. The remote Pacific Islands Marine National Monument makes up nearly 500,000 square miles of open ocean, reefs, and island habitats south of Hawaii. The Pacific Remote Islands Coalition wants to extend the monument around 2 sets of islands from 50 miles to 200 miles.
Places like these remote islands, atolls, and reefs represent some of the probably priority areas that we need to protect, that have minimal impact to other interests such as fishing.
But the Western Pacific Regional Fishery Management Council has taken a hard stand against that proposal, saying it would take away jobs in American Samoa, where about 85% of the economy is dependent on the tuna industry.
We have some concerns because this is only going to impact not only the U.S. fishermen, but also the fishermen that supports these small communities. And
on top of that, Council Chair Archie Suliai says the smaller islands were not consulted.
I didn't think that, Hawaii, in support of the proposed expansion, showed aloha to American Samoa.
Supporters of the expansion say there would be conservation benefits.
So expanding the Pacific remote islands is really an intentional act that we can take now to do our part as human beings in perpetuity for future generations.
Over the past 2 decades, I've sort of dedicated my life to the establishment of the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. And there's so much good that came out of that effort.
Suliai says the expansion could happen at any time with President Biden's signature. Without public hearings, he says that would be unfair.
We certainly feel that conservation is very important to sustaining our resources, but it's got to be science-based. There's got to be evidence that there will be conservation benefits, and that has not been shown.
The Pacific Remote Islands Coalition says it is still hopeful the president will sign the expansion, even as the council voices its opposition to the White House. Ben Gutierrez, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Ben. So let's talk about the internet is talking about, and this is really cool. We have so many local ties to primetime television right now. We have Magnum back on NBC, and on CBS, there's a bunch. We have 2 local contestants on Survivor, and we also have NCIS Hawaii. That's on Mondays on CBS KGMB, and now tonight, KGMB Primetime, another local tie on Secret Celebrity Renovations airs on KGMB at 8. I'll play it out for you.
And Waianae, girl, West Side.
Waianae, okay.
First of all, we say West Side is best side. This is where the majority of the family lives, on this side. So growing up, this is where I would always be. So
I have found when I come to Hawaii, they talk about the Ohana spirit here.
Yeah.
It's true. And I feel it from that energy from you.
We call it the aloha spirit as well, which is just aloha means many things, but love. And ohana is like everything to us. So ohana means family.
Yeah. And I can tell with you that you are all about family, because when I said, is there somebody that's like really helped shape who you are? It was
my tutu and Papa.
Absolutely, immediately.
My grandparents, they're the helm. They're like the king and queen of our monarchy, of our family. And they actually helped raise me when I was younger. My tutu has this silent strength. She doesn't say much. When she does speak, it matters. And my Papa, he knows my soul, he knows my spirit, he's my teacher. We will, sometimes when I come back home, we just go to this church and we just pray. And I just like have a cleansing. So coming here, it's moving to me because it's still a big part of who I am. I feel really at home when I come here.
What do they know, Nicole? What did you say?
I said, I don't even know what's possible. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up.
You know who that is. It's Grammy-nominated singer Nicole Scherzinger. She's returning to Oahu for this special edition of Secret Celebrity Renovation. Again, KGMB tonight. She is surprising her tutu and papa, and I'm told the renovations, which were done by Aussie Construction, will transform the hotel into more of a spacious and accessible home for her family. Again, KGMB tonight at 8, a special edition of the show.
So sweet.
Yeah. What'd you find, Ash?
Well, Brad Pitt, he's getting into the world of beauty. That's right. He's launching a skincare line meant for all genders. It's called Le Domaine, and the product claims to help balance the skin and target visible signs of aging. Now, the vegan-friendly line will focus on green beauty with refillable products, upcycled packaging, and at least 96% natural formulas. Prices range from $80 to $385, and Pitt says the idea of anti-aging is a fairy tale. He says we should embrace the idea of aging well.
For $300+. Thank you there, Brad Pitt. Okay.
So Iea native Susan Stanton, who's a writer for the hit series Succession, which I love, she's soaking in her big Emmy win. So Susan and her mom Barbara joined Steph on her podcast, The Mothership, this week with stories of humble beginnings here in Hawaii and an opportunity of a lifetime in New York.
Susan Sunihi Stanton joins us. The Punahou graduate won an Emmy for writing for HBO's Succession. The show won a total of 4 Emmys, 2 of which were for Outstanding Drama Series and Best Drama Series Writing. Congratulations, Susan, and thanks for being here with us.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
So basically, what's your reaction? I mean, after you found out that you won an Emmy?
Yeah, I mean, it was really really surreal. I had been, this is season 3, so I was able to be at the first Emmys with my brother again, and then last year it was just remote. So I was actually like in Hawaii, but I was quarantining, so I was completely by myself. My family watched. My mom dropped off a box of like food for me, and they had the award ceremony, like they were all in England, so I couldn't be with them for that ceremony. So when they won that year, it was just very strange, because I'm just sitting watching TV like completely by myself, just kind of like celebrating. So this was quite the opposite. I think I was just there were so many amazing shows out there, so I didn't know if you would be lucky enough to win again against the competition, and also because we were lucky enough to win last year. And so it was the first time that I got to receive like the physical award, and also just to be in that space, and like you're looking and you're like, I kept thinking that Zoolander thing. You're like, oh, there's this celebrity, there's this person, like don't fall off the stage, like there's John Turturro, like there's this person. And it was really really thrilling, but also just overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, well, you looked amazing. I mean, you got glammed up, right? I mean, did you have to like go to a professional stylist and get you all? What were you wearing?
Oh, I was wearing this lovely designer named Nardos, who did my dress for me. I actually didn't know. I just walked into, I saw her dresses in a store on Madison Avenue, and I was like, these dresses are beautiful. And so I wore one of her pieces, and then I'm actually wearing this ring. This is from Bliss Lau, who's one of my best friends and a Hawaii designer. And so she loaned me a chain. I'm wearing actually one of her necklaces, and I wore earrings from her. So I got to wear her designs, which was amazing, and I was really happy to have those pieces from her. And so it was fun. I think because I'm a writer and I'm naturally a little bit shy, getting all glammed up it's kind of fun, and it's performance, and it's a way to help. It's not exactly armor, but it kind of it helps a little bit to get dressed up for a special occasion.
How long did it take to get dressed up?
I'm embarrassed to admit. I mean, like 4 hours.
Oh my goodness.
That's so long. I mean, you've been like,
you look like a princess. You look like a princess.
And that's Stephanie Lum's podcast, Mothership. You can find it anywhere you get your podcast, and just search Hawaii News Now. Also on this podcast, as Ashley mentioned, her mother, Susan's mother, is going to join the podcast, which it gets interesting always when the moms get involved, right? And so just find it wherever you find those podcasts. That's one of my favorites.
You haven't seen Succession yet, huh?
I have not, no.
It is so good.
No, everyone talks about it.
Yes.
Winning big awards. Got to check it out. Add it to the watch list. There's a lot out there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this, Aloha Friday.
So close for me. You're done, though.
Oh, so close. You guys have a great weekend, and just pray those trade winds come back soon. Have a good one.